Hey, good morning to you. We're going through the book of Matthew, verse by verse, really because to many degrees I believe strongly, and God has shown me that the church is completely ignorant to many of the teachings of Jesus Christ. Many. So I think it's incredibly important that we just see what it is he had to say, what he did, all of it, and see it in detail, and then we can make our own choices at that point. So as we've gone through this book, we've gone through the book of genealogy so far, which is incredibly important and incredibly fascinating. Like, I've read that a bunch of times, but until I actually took the time to study out each person one by one, goodness gracious, it is just incredibly fascinating. And so that's where we're at. And before we get picked up, I do want to let you know that, in this series, I'm either going to be out hunting or fishing. I'm out doing a little squirrel hunting right now. I'm just kind of paused here and been reading the Bible and just gonna I'm sure me chatting isn't helping any, but we'll just kind of keep going, and maybe I'll see something, maybe I won't. But we're gonna pick it up where we left off. What we saw was that Salmon was born in the wilderness, and he was part of the army that went and took Jericho, and then he fell in love with Rahab and gave birth to Boaz. So we're just gonna pick it up right there. The book of genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot Judah and his brothers. Judah begot Perez and Zerah by Tamar. Perez begot Hezron, and Hezron begot Ram. Ram begot Amminadab, and Amminadab begot Nahshon, and Nahshon begot Salmon. Salmon begot Boaz by Rahab. Boaz begot Obed by Ruth, and Obed begot Jesse. Sorry, I think I hear something. All right, sorry about that. So this is incredibly fascinating because Ruth is not an Israelite. Rahab was not an Israelite. This is God using people, regardless of who they are, because they believe in who he is. Here, Boaz's parents, Salmon marries Rahab, the harlot from Jericho, and now Boaz is going to marry Ruth. So we're going to go to Ruth for a little bit, because this is the time when, there's no king, there's just people settling the land. And Boaz is, of course, a wealthy person, and the reason he's wealthy is, well, his grandfather was the leader of a 78,000 strong military army, really. And his great-grandfather was the leader of Judah, period. So he's a very wealthy person, and Boaz is. But there's a group of people who leave because of the famine. And their children end up marrying some people from Moab, Ruth being one of them. And then as the males die off, ultimately the mother is saying, well, I'm going to go back to Israel, and Ruth's sister goes off to go home to Moab. But Ruth says this, Ruth chapter 1, verse 15. And she said, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. And then Ruth returns with her mother-in-law. Gosh, I thought I saw a deer. It's not deer season, but it'd still be cool to see one. Maybe not. But anyhow, so Ruth, she goes back, and they're poor because, she's a widow, her mom's a widow. And they're gleaning the fields, which means like after the harvest, they can go through and just pick up the scraps, And Boaz, it's his field, and he sees her out there and just is enchanted and falls in love with her. And goes through a process of redeeming her, the Jewish process and whatnot. And and marries Ruth, you know, and I just, something that's always, I found incredibly beautiful about Ruth is that Ruth is working in the field. And so is Boaz, and that's where they fall in love. And I just really believe, you know, wholeheartedly that that's really the best place to meet a person, is being out in the field working for God, doing God's things, you know, doing the things of God. Like, I really do. Like, if you're a single person and you were like out serving the homeless and you fell in love with somebody along the way, like it's the best. It's the best, man. You know, if you're out building a house for homeless people or something, or you're out on a mission trip somewhere, or you're working in an orphanage, or just whatever, and then you fall in love with somebody in those places, like, God's going to bless the heck out of that stuff. And again, if you look at the genealogy, there's not, I think we mentioned this last one, there's not a lot of women mentioned. At all, really. In the genealogy of Jesus Christ. You know, but here's Ruth. Such a special woman, man. Really just because, kind of like Rahab, you know. Did you guys hear that? So kind of like with Rahab, you know, here she's from Jericho, and she betrays Jericho. I just keep hearing things falling from trees, I think. I'm not sure what these... but she's, you know, she betrays Jericho because she believes in who the God of Israel is. And Ruth then, you know, abandons her hometown and her people and their gods because she believed in who her mother-in-law's God. She said, your God is going to be my God. And God, that's like music to God's ears, you know. He loves hearing that stuff. So he makes her part of, not only does he bless the heck out of her, you know, because think about back then, if you were a woman, you know, she was a widow and her mother was a widow, her mother-in-law, I mean, you know, that would have been terrible, just a terrible circumstance, just guaranteed poverty and destruction. Till you're dead kind of thing, maybe homelessness. Something bite me. And yet she finds the wealthy Boaz, and he falls in love with her in the field as they're working. And they become the lineage of Jesus Christ. It's an incredible thing. So, well, I'm going to sit here in the quiet. I'm sorry I haven't gotten anything the last 2 times, but I'm trying to, I haven't seen a squirrel. I keep hearing things, but I saw a couple last time I was down here. But I didn't have my rifle on me at the time. Saw him from the deck. But I'll keep trying. If I get something, I'll definitely put it at the end of the video. But I don't know. I'll just hang out here for a bit. But if you're wanting to reap the blessings of God, get out in the field and work. I do want to take a moment and say, if you feel called to support this channel with a Patreon, that link is below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So don't ever hesitate to send that stuff in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and I love guns.